Pia Desai from the Desai Sethi Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Having me.
Yeah. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit more about the Desai Sethi Foundation? What are your goals? What do you do?
Absolutely. Thanks, Ned. So the overall mission of the Desai Sethi Foundation is to improve lives of underserved individuals through education, entrepreneurship, and wellness. In the 21st century, we think about adding kind of a technology layer to all of this where we can. And a big focus of ours is on social enterprises. So those are, everyone I think has a slightly different definition of what a social enterprise is. To us, those are organizations, be they for-profit or nonprofit, who design and deliver products and services for underserved individuals.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think social enterprises are so important? Why is that the focus?
I think that there are a couple of reasons. One is that in many ways, a lot of products and services that go toward low and moderate income individuals are not necessarily designed for them, but end up being byproducts. And so in our mind, if we can find organizations that are kind of committed to delivering those from the outside and very much have that individual in mind as their end user and target customer, the types of products and services you can build will be much more well-suited for their needs. And the idea is that by doing so, can we help to set those individuals, those communities on trajectories that might look different than the ones that they are on today?
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah, those communities are often afterthoughts. It'd be nice if in user-centered design, they were the user who was, the design was centered around and actually had input into the product development.
Exactly. And, one of the programs that we were planning to launch this year, which may get pushed back a little bit now, would incorporate elements of human-centered design into how social enterprises from the outset think about how to reach and address their customer.
Very cool. Very cool. I love it. So you were a very early donor to the Detroit Small Business Stabilization Fund. Why is that? What inspired you?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, we were so grateful to see action being taken so quickly. So what inspired us was the fact, first of all, that it was there. So big kudos to TechTown for being completely on top of that. As I mentioned, entrepreneurship is one of our key pillars. And there's so many ways I think you can define what and who an entrepreneur is. COVID affected all of us in different ways, has affected, continues to, as individuals, as professionals, as parents, as caregivers. And when we thought about the groups within the population that were left vulnerable from this, small businesses was one that very quickly rose to the top. As we were discussing earlier, cash on hand for these businesses is often only enough for a couple weeks at any point. And that's when businesses are able to operate at 100% capacity. And knowing that that was something that was no longer going to be on the table for them, that became a population that we realized we wanted to find a way to support immediately. Small business owners were and are entrepreneurs. We were particularly drawn to the profile of small businesses that the Stabilization Fund wanted to support, which were these entrepreneurs, in many cases, low and moderate income individuals who really had to hustle to get their dream off the ground and are there to largely serve Detroiters.
Yeah, well, Detroit certainly hustles harder, and we were very proud that the firms we targeted very much were serving and hiring Detroiters. That first round helped companies that had about 1,700, 1,800 jobs. 1,500 of them were Detroiters, 1,490 or something like that. So, we really targeted because we wanted to make sure the aid was going to the people who needed it the most. But thanks again for your leadership on that. It's really hard to act quickly. And we saw that a lot of the big foundations and corporations, wanted to go through their process. And, I respect that. That's really important. But in times of crisis, sometimes leadership is stepping up and doing what's fast, not necessarily what's following the best process. And I think the results speak for themselves. So thank you on that. But, you guys didn't stop there. You said it's not just about money. You doubled down and you said you want to help small businesses other ways, and you created these learning forums. So what was the goal there, and what did you learn?
Yeah, great question. So, as an organization, DSF is always trying to ask ourselves, what can we do to make any program that we support or run on our own as successful as possible? And often we think about that as including wrapping a layer or two of support and kind services around a financial contribution. And so, the Stabilization Fund was amazing in its speed and delivery, go to market, and the simplicity of what it was offering. And so what we said is, can we add to that by helping to provide guidance and support regarding what the funds could go toward? What issues are coming up week over week that might be concerning to business owners? And so we said if we could create a so that was one sort of goal. The other goal was these business owners need support at a time like this. And support can come from folks who have domain expertise or are subject matter experts that are sort of, that in TechTown offered incredible resources there. But a lot of the support is going to come from someone who's saying, hey man, like I'm going through the exact same thing and boy, is it tough. What creative ideas do you have? And so the way that we designed the learning forum was kind of twofold. One, very around what's topical at a given point in time. And so initially, a lot of that was helping to explain CARES. How do you think about applying for PPP? And then it moved toward other issues that became relevant as the sort of weeks passed. So we had sessions that were around marketing, around branding, around partnering and working with other small businesses in the area. The TechTown experts were so knowledgeable and provided incredible input there. And then the second half of each forum was really around open discussion amongst the participants. And they were there to guide each other and help each other. And I'm telling you, from a brainstorming perspective, any ideas that the TechTown and DSF teams were contributing were good. But the ideas that came from the business owners were far and away much, much better. And they just understood and related to each other and were able to find pockets of sort of overlap in a way that was incredible. We saw a lot of repeat attendees, which we thought was a fantastic sign that they were really getting value from it. And so, we were super grateful that TechTown was willing to kind of collaborate with us on this idea, and that it was helpful in allowing the Stabilization Fund funds to be, used kind of in the best way possible. And additionally, as business owners were thinking about what comes next, they were in a position to say, okay, I've got some good ideas.
Oh, it was clearly great. And my team has reported back to me that they're going to use a lot of their learnings from the process in their own work going forward as we move into 313 Strong, which is our technical assistance program that we're working on. But, you mentioned the business owners.
Yeah.
And that they had some, really cool learnings and sharings and ideas that they were able to communicate with each other. Any of them stand out? Yeah. Is there anyone you're like, oh, the coolest business was X? And I know it's a hard one. I get asked that all the time. Tell me your coolest business. I'm like, which one is your favorite child? You're not allowed to do that. But were there any that sprung to mind?
There were so many fantastic ones. I'll highlight two that I loved. So one was a salon called Bare Skin. There was a woman named Alicia Frazier who runs a salon, and they do massages, waxing, things like that, very much services based.
Haircuts? Can I get a haircut there?
I'm not sure if you can. I'm sure she would find a way to make it happen because she's a total hustler. So what she did was said, I obviously can't sell this. I can't keep my physical doors open. There's no way to actually sell this product online, but what are the sort of what's the ancillary suite of products that might be interesting to my customer? She has in her salon some products that she actually sells, skin creams, things like that. But she couldn't get into her salon. And she also didn't really know how she would manage shipping. What was she going to do? Each time go to the post office that a new order came in. So she went to her suppliers and basically found a way to design kind of all-in-one packages that were then drop shipped to customers, which she sold. So she completely pivoted to an e-commerce model within that time. And it's something that she can continue to do and will sit very nicely as an additional revenue stream alongside the fantastic services she's able to offer in Bare Skin itself when it's able to reopen. So another example was a daycare called Baby University. run by a woman named India Armstrong. Now, a daycare center feels like an extremely difficult kind of a service to be able to provide in a time like COVID. What she did was also pivot to online. And there were two kind of big ways that she thought about doing this. One was to sort of provide an additional set of eyes by providing kind of like virtual sitting. And then the other piece was building these handbooks where she helped to deliver curriculum to parents to say, hey, at different points, depending on the age range of your child, here is where they are in terms of their cognitive development. Here are the types of exercises we would be and activities we would be doing with them in the center. These are the ones that are kind of easiest for you to be able to manage on your own in your home. And so she provided a little bit of support through the sort of like extra eyes that were on the child in the room, but then a great lift through this handbook that she delivered alongside it.
Very cool. So yeah, pivoting to online. I mean, it's hopefully providing some revenue now, but also to your point, you know, it's a multi-channel stream when you reopen. There's no need to stop doing it, and can augment a decline in revenues, or frankly, just increase revenues overall if things get back to more a normal state. So online, clearly another channel, which tells me, you know, tell me more about Revolution Small Biz, what that is and what you guys are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to say this was completely inspired by what we were hearing in learning forums. And so much of what we heard was we're finding hope and some amount of success by pivoting to online, or we've always been really scared of getting online. Is this a time where we should like force ourselves to embrace it? And as we sort of heard feedback from the two groups that were sort of on different sides of the spectrum in terms of their kind of familiarity with technology and willingness to kind of take the plunge, we said, can we help ease the sort of pain, lower the burden and barrier to entering the kind of world of opening your digital doors by providing a service that would really help you do this? So Revolution Small Biz is a program that we put in place that's very simple, where we work with web developers to design simple but highly professional websites that can help Detroiters, you know, small businesses in Detroit throw open their digital doors for the first time. If you're a product business or a services business, you know, there are different offerings that would make sense for you. In some cases, this will, in the case of product businesses, this would look like true e-commerce where you're actually transacting online. In the case of services businesses, this may look a little bit more like a great marketing effort and place to begin generating leads so people become really familiar with your brand, maybe can make appointments, things like that. But the idea is your reach can be potentially expanded beyond the immediate community that you've always served. And there is a way to view this as only enhancing the value proposition, the fantastic product and service that you are able to develop to deliver in your brick and mortar location through a great web presence. And can we assist these small businesses in doing that by pairing them with coaches from our foundation, web developers who actually do the execution, and training so that once the site is built, they're in a position to continue maintaining it on an ongoing basis themselves.
That's amazing. It's such an important part of the process, and so many businesses don't have that web presence that's so crucial, or they have a bad one. And we all know that you make a decision about a business as soon as you pop on their website, whether or not you would trust them to buy something. Yeah. So who are your web developers? Where did you find these folks?
So we're working with a couple different partners. We have some that are based locally in the Southeast Michigan area. We have others that have more of a national footprint. But we vetted several companies and tried to find ones who had real familiarity in working with small businesses and the types of organizations that we wanted to be supporting. And secondly, those who understood that this is a very clear and streamlined process that we want to run to be able to support several organizations at once, and found a handful that are just fantastic partners.
Great. Well, thank you so much again, Pia Desai from the Desai Sethi Foundation.